preach more, unless it's for something. Yeah. Unless it's
but then
for
I have all
greater.
these questions like, do you like?
You're recording whenever you're ready.
Oh, you started already?
Yeah, no rush though, whenever you're ready.
Okay, but then you're gonna cut off, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna trim it and everything.
Yeah. Okay, if you can, this one, it's if you can send me later, it's great. Or tomorrow morning, it'll be great. As long as you can.
I should be able to get it to you tonight.
Will be great. Now, is it bothering you see it in the, if I put the computer like this?
It looked good. You can see the...
Camera?
You can see just the very top of it, yeah. It doesn't look bad though.
It's alright.
Yeah, it just looks like a... Oh, now you can't see it at all, now that I zoomed in.
Okay, yeah. I don't need it closer.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
don't need it closer. Okay.
Can't even see it.
Perfect. Okay. So I have this one, these two. Hey, baby. Hey, baby, what's up? Oh, I was on mute. I'm talking to you and I'm on mute. How you doing, Baba?
Great, how are you?
Good, good. Tomorrow we're talking, yes?
Yes, tomorrow we're talking.
Okay. I'm gonna start on time, okay? Give me just 1 minute, just 1 minute.
Okay, take your time.
Adam, how was the break in county?
Yesterday was epic.
Right?
It was
Wasn't
so
it?
great. It was kind of lully for the next hour after you left, and then it just, for the next hour after that, it was just firing, like every 4 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Okay, that's one thing. This is 2. And this is, okay, this 1, 2. Oh, Adam, you're gonna like this one.
I'm not sure if that's a good sign. I'm probably gonna get it.
No, this week is about the Kohen.
Ah, amazing, okay. Good, lots to learn.
No, it's funny. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem. And then I'm going. By the way, I'm going to send you the recording from here. Like you see the professional recording. Okay. All right.
So do you want me to record?
I mean, just in case,
Okay.
and you can delete it afterwards. I'm sending it to you, so you don't have to keep the space or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I can go as deep as I want. Okay. Ready?
Recording in progress.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome for our Monday night connection. And obviously, our connection is everybody connecting their own way, in their own time, in their own schedule, which is great, no problem. Just making sure it's a connection. It's not just to study or just to understand something. Because a connection can go far away, right? Can continue in your life, even if the lesson stops, right? But when you just came to learn a lesson, you learn the lesson and the lesson stopped when you already overcome that, or when you maybe think you understood it. A connection goes beyond any lessons or any interaction. So one of the things that I would like to share from this week is a connection to our internal structure. And what Kabbalah specifically speak about, it speaks about the high priests. There were different priests, right? Now again, why do I need to speak about priests? There's no priest anymore. Maybe in the church a little bit there's priests, but From the Holy Temple point of view, there are no priests. And the Torah was written 3,400, 3,500 years ago. Maybe back then, priest was relevant. Here, today you see a priest walking the street. It's like, oh wow, it's a nice Halloween custom. You don't feel holiness, or you don't feel like that like greatness about it. Sometimes it's like even like people looking down to that. Because it was never about external type of guruism. Even the Kohanim, between them, the priests had like a guruism type of syndrome, right? A lot of them fell. The obvious result is it wasn't successful. It did not remain. Up until today, it's not happening. Happened for a few years, in these years, in that years. Historically, we know exactly the day, when it started, when it stops. But spiritually, it was never meant just to focus on the external idea of priests and Levites or the servants, or the Meshamshim, the servants in the Holy Temple. The Zohar make it very, very clear for us that since we don't have the Holy Temple, that is the moment when the Holy Temple was destroyed, historically, that is the moment where we start going inward, right? And not dependent on external structure. Now the temple is concealed. We mean it was destroyed in the 1% look like. But the temple is still there. The Holy Temple is still there. In a concealed way. Right? Only what we call the 1%, the physical effect of that was concealed. And it was moved into an internal connection to the Holy Temple. An internal connection to the priest. Now, what does it mean, Kohen, within us? This is the deeper connection to the higher priest in this week. It says, the Creator comes to Moses and tell him, Emor el HaKohanim, speak to the priests. Now listen to this. When the way it's structured spiritually is that you have, each one of us, you cannot exist in the world if you don't have a priest within you. What is a priest? A level within you that meant to be a channel for this world, for the sake of influence. Each one of us have within us a high priest, meaning a high level of a sharing that you meant to be a complete, pure channel to this world. It can be with anything, the smallest to the biggest, can be with a smile, can be with a beauty, can be with like a good communicator, can be with a good chef, can be with anything. Anything, when you only use it for the sake of influence. And there's not many places in our life that we're doing it only for the sake of influence. A lot of the time, or a lot of places in our life, we do share, but with the agenda, but with the selfishness attached to it. Therefore, there is places in our life, at least unique place, that where we are there meant to serve as the high priest. It's a high level of consciousness, of energy that you meant to share and influence the world around you. Therefore, comes this week and tells you, Emor el HaKohanim, speak to the priests. What is the message? And again, I want you to learn how to learn Kabbalah. We, each one of us, waiting until we'll be revealed. Right? Some of us, will be discovered by a headhunter, or by a billionaire person that will take me and make me that, or a famous person that will discover me and put me on a set and I'll be very famous, or all kind of la story. You can find it only in different places of La La Land. Not in the real reality, in the spiritual reality. I'm sorry, that was funny. It was funny for me because I was in that La La Land, so I remember. And one of the things that we need to remember, we are in charge of transforming ourselves to a conduit, to a channel. We need to tell ourselves, what is it? Emor Kohanim, speak to the priest. What is the Torah giving us? What is the consciousness telling us? Speak to the priest inside of you. Don't speak to the people. Don't speak to, what do you mean? Go speak to God. What is it? It's a fictional feature sitting there that people create in their mind. It's inside of you. You have to speak to the priest, and the priest will speak to the Creator. You don't go directly to the Creator, you go to the priest. Who is the priest? You. Who is you? Is the aspect of you that meant to be a conduit, a complete channel to the world. That's the only way you can communicate, because that's what it has to be. You know, literally, there used to be people going to the Holy Temple, and they speak to the priest, and they speak, and the priest speak to the Creator to help them. Right? That's kind of like the idea. Kabbalistically, we're not meant to give away or to hope for, or maybe the priest will love me and talk, or maybe the rabbi. No, it doesn't work like that. When you start, it says, Emor Kohanim, speak to the priest inside of you. You need to speak to yourself and says, grow up. Become who you become. Start to become the channel that you need to become. Stop desiring selfishness around that. Start becoming an activist of a desire to share. Be a person who is admiring influence of love in this world. You see negativity, you speak to that. No, go away. You need to be the person who speaks to the priest. Who is the priest? You. That's the first initial understanding. You need to use what we call Emor Kohanim, speak to the priest. He says, it's a command. That's why when you speak, it's like when you use your phone, you have a lot of people do a voice dictation or whatever they call it, a voice activation, right? Same thing. You need to activate that priest with your words. Has to be words. Speak in that terms. That's the first message that needs to be clear to every spiritual person. We're not dependent on a rabbi or Benjamin or anyone who solved our problem. No. No guruism anymore. Doesn't work like that anymore. Again, maybe it's still working like that for other people, because they don't know that it's already few thousand years it's been transformed to an internal conversation, not external. Therefore, I need to awaken a desire for that. Therefore, I would like you to also say to yourself, I want to be heard in this world. I want to be heard. I want my voice to be heard. But not me, my ego need to be heard. Me, my channel, my priest. The priest that every person have with that. What is the priest? A channel, a conduit. If you're not going to speak to that, and again, even talk yourself into that, as they call it. There's a term like that, right? I need to talk myself into going into this therapy, going into this, going to that. Talk yourself into being a channel. Meaning by, I sometimes said, what's the benefit of me doing it and want it selfishly from that? I tell myself, no, better not do it, because it's just going to be more ego for you. Better not to go there, right? Uncomfortable for me, right? This is the talk I'm doing myself, with my priest. I'm talking with my priest, internal priest, right? I says, okay, if I'm going to go there, my ego is going to be pumped. My ego is going to get, I don't want to be busy with that. I better not go, right? I need to go there because, it's uncomfortable. I really don't connect there, but it's uncomfortable. Go and do that. Go. You need to tell yourself, talk yourself into it, but this is the talk. Most of us talking ourselves into something that is really not good for us. That's the differentiation between talk yourself into being a channel, by either one level, remove the negativity or being uncomfortable, and one is by not going and talk yourself into not doing something because the ego will take over you. That's part of the conversation that you need to be able to do with yourself. Then we're gonna go a little bit deeper into this week, because there is something important that we need to understand about our vessel, about how we behave and how we conduct ourselves. First of all, I need to remember, what is the high priest? The high priest had a specific job. He was a person that was never attached to any possession, external possession. That's the main point. There's many others, but I just go straight to the point. The high priest was never motivated by an external desires. Nothing external. He was never moved by external people. He was never moved because what they told him. The high priest was only disconnected from, connected to the light and disconnected from physicality. Now again, I'm not asking you to do that, but I'm asking you to not be possessed by the external validation. Do not be possessed by any external needs. But I'm a creature of need, I'm a creature of desire. Yes, but not to be only about the me. Not to be motivated by that. Motivated by your channeling to this world. What am I meant to channel to this world? That's the motivation you want to be. And it's internal, it's not external. Then, we're speaking about the words of Kabbalah, the words of the Torah. It's a code. And Kabbalistically, we know we always taking the numerical values and we're changing the words. It's not because it doesn't fit for me, right? Because it's a hidden secret that you can only reveal when you move it around. For example, every individual in your life, when you meet them in a setting of a social setting, do you really know all about them? You met them in a social setting, you meet them, they talk, wow, seems like a lovely person, A lot of people, meeting somebody and they like, oh my God, amazing person, let's start a business together, right? Let's wait, Why? Because then you bring the person in a dinner setting. Then things comes out. Then you bring a person into a setting of, spiritual setting. Then other things comes out. Then you bring a person next to your family or next to another best friend. Another thing comes out of the person. Then you bring the person to your teacher. And then everything comes out. And the idea is that it's the same thing with our desire. In every sitting, in every time we have something, it needs to be, reevaluate. Readapt, readjust, increase, decrease. This is what we need to do. So, when we're looking at words in Kabbalah, we move it around and we see what else can come out of these words. What else can come out of this story? So you move it around, you put it in a setting this, setting of that, then you realize. That's why we using numbers, that's why we're using different setting of the words, so you know that a little bit when you study with me and you hear that or in other classes. You take the word emor, speak to the priest. Emor, it means speak to the priest. You flip the letter, you get the word mora. Mora, which is fear. Right? And he says, more or mora in Hebrew, is what can give me the source, a connection. The word mora, give me a connection to all the sources of force, the source of the force in creation. That's this word. And that can be only connected through your high priest. If you don't connect to a high priest, you are not connected to all the sources of energy in this world, of all forces. Why? He says a verse that he speaks about here. He says, Yehi ratzon, he says, may you have a desire, shetehe more shamayim alechem, that the fear, again, the fear of heaven or the fear of God, that literally that's what it says, kemore basar vadam, like the fear that you have from people, from flesh and blood. Let's understand what it means. If you look at all our fears, most of our fear generated in this lifetime, in this world. In this world, you walk around, or you're afraid of your parents, that they will take things away from you, or if they're abuser, you're afraid that they will beat you up, or you're growing up, you're afraid that they will throw you out of the school, or you're afraid that people in school will bully you, right? You develop fears, right? Or you're not pretty enough, you're afraid somebody will say something about that part of your body, and like, oh my God, what's going to happen if they're going to say that? It's going to be devastated, right? Nonsense fear who are generated from the external world. Now, if you look at that, it's crazy. The spiritual world tell you, if you just take all the fears that you have in the physical world, just take all the fear of what they think, fear of what's going to happen, fear of death, fear of this, any fear that you have, that you can look at them, and you will see the amount of fear that people have from the physical world, that something will not manifest, something will happen, will not happen in the physical world. Just take that. If you will have that fear from who you are spiritually, like fear, what does it mean fear? Because if you would know what is the highest level of who we are, not the highest, but a high level of who we are, if you would connect to your high priest, you will have fear of injecting any selfishness. That fear will protect you. That fear will allow you to generate the sources of creation and to share them. What is fear? Fear is a protection. For example, if I tell you, take your finger, stick it into the socket, what would you say? No? I said, how do you know? If I ask anyone, why don't you stick your finger in the socket? And also, make sure there's water and you are barefoot. Now, if I ask anybody of you, anyone here, whenever you hear it, have you ever done it? No. Has anybody did it? No. They just saw somebody get electrocuted, and that fear warned them for lifetime. No wet feet, no barefoot, no sticking your finger in the socket. Right? It's so simple. That fear prevents you lifetime of one action. And again, like that, there are many. Most of us, the fears that we have are generated by people, by experiences, or by interaction, or wrong interaction. Now I'm afraid to go to these places because, some of us, I'm afraid to go to this party because I'm going to see my ex and my schmecks and my boss is going to see me, and then it's going to be... That's the fears that people do. They will not do things because of people. This is what we're asking. Take all these fears, and if you have that same to the spiritual world, to the level of, like, for example, if you meant to share with somebody, and you have the fear of not allowing any desire to receive for the self alone to insert. For example, I have a fear when I share this class that nothing of me will come into this. That only what I learn from the Kabbalist to share that. That fear is a protection to not insert the me or the selfishness or the ego within it. I work with a lot of people. And over the years, sometimes it's very difficult. You're getting connected, you're getting so close, and you really have invested so much, right? You have to afraid to get involved. You have to be afraid. What do you mean to get involved? I'm so involved in every aspect of people's life. It's not me. It's the Kohen, it's the priest there. Me, I'm not involved. That's very important to separate, to learn to separate it. And the only way you can separate it is with that type of a healthy fear that we're talking about. Again, this is a very important idea because of the next idea that I'm going to share with you. The next idea is... it's a bit, out there, and it's important to sometimes challenge ourselves to look at the Torah, so dense, right? The Bible, the story is so dense and so thick, and how can we melt it down? How can we dissolve it into our life? Because anyone who read it literally, it's embarrassing. It's really not cool to read it literally. In our generation, actually. So I tell you one thing. It speaks about the high priest. And the priests had a very specific rules. The priests had very clear rules. And one of the rules he says to him, Isha zona v'chalala lo yikachu. And then he said, V'isha grusha meisha lo yikachu. So he says, a priest cannot be married with a harlot, or let's call it a hooker. Okay, that's the real word. A priest cannot marry a hooker. And if she's divorced from a man, the priest cannot marry her, cannot be with her. Now again, today we know if you're a Kohen, if you're a priest, yes, you shouldn't be with somebody like that. Anybody would like to be with that? Even if you're not Kohen? Imagine, right? That's a question, right? Second thing is, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with the hooker? That's what she does. That's her job. Right? She called it the job. That's the job. What's wrong with that? And why is she's not worthy to be with such and such? Right? That's it. If she sleep with so many men, that makes her disqualified to be married or to be a mother, or let's say if somebody got divorced, it shouldn't be with somebody else. Now this is the wisdom. This is where the wisdom is, right? The wisdom of Kabbalah. Break it down in a very, very simple way for us. You know who is the hooker in the story? It's us. Each one of us behave this way. Behave this way because the Torah, the Kabbalah, never speaks about the woman and a man, or male and a female. It's only certain types of energy. So what did I say? The Kohen, the high priest, is what we call the higher level within you, that represented by what we call the sharing or conduit of channeling to this world. Female, right? That's why Kohen Gadol represent the male. Female represent your vessel, which we calling in the level of Kabbalah or in the language of Kabbalah, we call it the desire to receive. The desire to receive. And then there is the desire to share. Right? That is what we call the Kohen Gadol, which means there is level. There's Kohen, there's a channeling, but there's a higher level for this. Okay? Every time, think about it. Why does it say, Isha zona vechalala? Why I shouldn't take a hooker? Because if I'm a Kohen, if I'm connected to the Kohen with me, again, this is an internal conversation. I hope you're going to go down to that depth and understand that. Understand that, not like taking it literally. The Kohen, or the Kohen Gadol, is a higher level that we, each one of us, meant to channel to this world. But we also have some selfishness. We also have some attachments. We also have some agendas. We also have some secrets that we don't tell people. Therefore, if you look at your desire to receive, most of us are like a hooker for that. Wherever I get more money, wherever I get more fame, wherever I'm going to get more pleasure, that's where I'm going to go. Wherever my selfishness gets fulfilled much more, that's where I'm going to go, to the higher bidder. Right? So, what are you? Are you a people pleaser? A hooker. Right? Are you, that's what it means. Spirit, to your vessel. And therefore you cannot be married to your high priest. Because every time you're chasing after those ghosts. Right? You're chasing after beauty. Oh, but look at him. Look at her. Wow, they're so famous. That's what you want. Right? So you're not going to be connected. This is what it means. You are a hooker. It means it's talking about you going to the higher bidder. Not to your soul. Not to your Kohen Gadol. Not to your high priest. So every time somebody have a desire of sort, think about it. Sometime, if you have a desire to stay lazy, you selling your mother, your father, your sister right away as an excuse why you can't do what you do. Well, I can't come tonight. My family asked me that. It's all lie, but you're using it. Right? I can't avoid that dinner, Why? Because you're so selfish, because you can't say no to these people, because then afterward they're going to give you the business. And I don't want to deal with that. So I might as well suffer in that dinner to go and not to say, no, I'm not going to that dinner. That's the idea. So again, let's understand more. Let's understand more. How we choosing who to be with? It's depend. Whoever wants me more. And let's say, for example, somebody, you come to an event and says, oh, can you come sit here? I save you a seat. And somebody, oh, come sit with me. Or why don't you come sit with me, right? Who is the higher bidder, right? Where am I going to get more? Sitting here, I'm going to give me more? That's what I'm going to go. When you're using your desire to receive, to calculate where I'm going to get more, you are a hooker of your desire to receive. I'm sorry I'm so blunt in that word. I know it's not a respectful word. But this is what they call it. Strictly in the Torah. And if the Torah using it, is the word. that we need to stop chasing after the desire to receive for the self alone. And therefore, every time you're chasing after that, you are disconnected from your high priest. You can't, no, Benjamin, how am I going to be a channel? Channel for what? You're not going to be able to find out if you're going to be chasing after all these things. A hooker cannot be engaged with the higher priest. You have to choose. So, also another thing. Somebody offer you something. Why you should take it? Somebody want to offer you a job. Why should I take it? What an amazing opportunity, right? Or somebody want to offer you some honor, right? Somebody want to honor you, right? You're an honoree of this type of an event. You know how they call it? You honoree, right? Honoree or something like that. Oh, no, just I don't want to, but okay, if it's going to make you happy, I'm going to come, you know. Thank you for the honor. What are you talking about? You only came to get that honor from that. Or just praise. People love to be praised. No, don't praise me, but a little bit more, just a little bit more. Okay, that was enough. Don't stop, right? It's like when somebody goes to a room and everybody cheer, right? Yes, that's enough. That was enough, right? You see when they go on the shows and stuff like that, when is it enough to tell them to stop clapping, right? Or when they honor someone and they wake up, they stand up, right? It's all based on when I get filled. Okay, guys, you should stop, right? This is that. Or if somebody want to give you something, should I right away, oh, thank you so much? Or wait a second. Am I a hooker or am I a priest? A priest will use it for the sake of sharing. A hooker will use it to me. And more than that, now the second part of the verse. The second part is that, first of all, he asks you, stop being the hooker of the desire to receive for the self alone. I'm going to say it 1,000,000 times until it's going to get into you and you will never go to the street. Right? You're going to never sell yourself. You're going to never sell your connection to the high priest after you hear me. This can change now. It can change now. You don't have to wait. Even if it's one person that I was able to influence with this. I'm grateful for that. Then he says, so why don't I... And this is very good. Today, I had a blast today. We studied for this. I got so excited because when I realized that, and again, it was like boom in your face, right? Then he says, a high priest should not marry a divorced woman. Think about it. Why not? Now, if you understand the consciousness, you probably understand why not. Did anybody get it? If you didn't, it's okay. You can pause and think about it. Why don't I marry hooker? Yeah, it's disrespectful. But a divorce, what's wrong with that? It didn't work. She was married, didn't work for the relationship. Why not? Because, again, please, I'm not talking about a woman. I'm talking about, let's say we're talking about the desire, right? That desire was belonged to another person. And now it's divorced from that person. I don't want to get other people's desire. I want my desire. I don't want to be married, right, or engaged with the desire of somebody else. How many of us have people who offer us, you should want that, or you should do that? A lot of us, get offered, this is not good for you, or you should get dressed this way, or you should come to this, or you should do this, or you should do this. It's their desire. It's divorced from them. It's been moved from them, and now do I need to take it on? It's their desire. How many of us are still trying to fit my parents' desire in my life? We're still trying to engage, or at least to make it happen that my parents desire for me. I wanna be able to do that. It's their desire. You cannot connect to other people's desire. You have to stop, satisfy, but they want. But Benjamin, you say I need to share, but it's their desire. Why you need to chase after their desire? Let's say you have a desire of sort, but the other person also want it. Do you have people in your life that everything you want something, all of a sudden they want? All of a sudden they want it also. Why? Stop that. Stop desiring things that others have, because you disconnect from your channel. Again, that's why divorce, meaning that the idea is it's not belong to you. It's dirty. She divorced from them, meaning the desire to receive that they wanted doesn't work for them anymore. They divorced it. Now you want to marry that? It didn't work. And again, this is important for us to understand, because when my desire comes from others, oh look, I saw in the media that if you put 2 garlic on this location of your head, you're going to be channeling a stinky smell, right? Whatever it is. Why do I need to do that? Why? Oh, because they did it in the media, and it seems like those famous people doing it, I need to do that. No, it's their desire. Is it yours? Do we need to engage with that? Do you need to do that? That's very important not to take, because anytime I'm taking a desire of others, and then there is Isha Zona vechalala. Chalala is come from the word hollow, empty vessel. That's what it means. Anytime you're chasing after other people's desire, or satisfy others, or pleasing others, you are remain, because you are hooker, you're chasing after that, you remain empty. Very important. Very, very important today. Therefore, he tells you that the priest should marry only virgin. Veisha bebtulea ikach. He said, a priest must marry a virgin. Oh, that's a rare thing in this world today. That's a rare product, right? No. It's nothing to do with that, my dear. It's nothing to do with that. A lot of people try to manipulate or tell lies about it. Well, it's nothing to do with the physical thing. No, not to say that a woman doesn't need to go around and with anyone, okay? But of course, it's nothing to do with this. If you are following your true desires, if you are becoming the high priest, Veisha bibtulei ikach, then you're going to get a pure desire. Then this is a virgin. Virgin represented by a new desire all the time. New desire, new connection, new purity, new pure level of me. Not engaged or seduced by any selfishness. Again, I have 6 more points, but I'm going to keep it. I'm going to share in the other half of the week. But the last thing is important. The third idea, maybe the fourth, is to always practicing. Again, it's very important this week, but I'm going to speak about it later on this week in other classes, because I don't have time right now. But he says, anytime there is an awakening for you, for a spiritual work, or let's say you're walking up to do more today, you need to always make what we call simanei derech. He says, if a person, the Kabbalah says, that a person goes into the forest. And when he goes to the forest, he doesn't know the forest. So every time he goes, he's putting a little cloth or a little tape to remind him where his way, so he can go back outside of the forest. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? He makes marks, or he makes signs of where to go when he want to go out. When you do spiritual work, or when you have an awakening for something, you know what? I really want to change that. Or I got disgusted by a behavior that I have. Or let's say, like I said, you recognize how you are hooker of your desire to receive for the self alone, of your selfishness, right? And you realize, I don't want it anymore. Make a sign. Why did you decide to get out of it? Because when you move on from that, let's say, for example, you end up a bad relationship, right? He says, that was so bad. Make sure you make a sign. That, because when you move on 5 years later, make sure you don't fall into the same place. Make sure a warning zone is about that. The second thing is, let's say, for example, somebody goes down to a pit hole, a deep, deep hole. What would a person that is smart, that go down to a hole, what does he do? He rolled down a rope, or he'd roll down a ladder. Why? Because eventually I will have to climb up. Make sure that this is the way you behave in your life. Make sure that you make it in your life, because you move forward, you will forget. You will forget why you started the spiritual work. You will forget why you wanted to change that or change this. Because again, it's important. It's like when when there's a moment that you need to climb up back. And if you don't prepare that, that when there is a falling, it's going to be very hard for you to climb up back again. So you making marks of why I started that, what do I need to be aware of, fears that I talked about before. You putting fears of like, I'm afraid to engage with water on the floor barefoot and put my and being busy fixing the light fixture, right? Everybody is so clear for them, they're afraid to do that because they know what's going to happen. Create a safe mechanism for our selfishness, for our ego, for many, many different booby traps that we have in our day or in our life. We'll continue more this week, but thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you.
Recording stopped.